So Israel Adesanya has recently announced on a podcast he did that he's going to be taking like 18 months to 2 years off. He's not going to be fighting for a long time. Um, he knows his career is coming to, he's on the tail end of his career and he wants to come back and finish it with a bang. He's not going to retire. He wants to end it, I'm sure with a win. But yeah, he's going to be taking a significant time off and letting his body heal. He said he's been having injuries and things he's been dealing with. And I'm sure, it's taken a toll on him. I think he said he had 4 months and he had 4 fights in like 14, 15 months. It's like a year and a half, a little over a year and a half. That's very impressive, especially because they're title fights. And I give him that. Him and Kamaru Usman are probably the only 2 champions I've ever seen who I think maybe George St. Pierre, who really wanted to fight the best and consistently fought the best and did not run from the best, didn't make excuses and sought out the hardest fights, which were the best competitors. And I give Israel a lot of credit for that. However, I think the thing that he's not saying is that he's mentally broken. I think what Sean Strickland did to him, all the stuff he mentioned about his dog, all the things he said about him being like a fake Chinese, because Israel held up a Chinese flag and said, I'm a Chinese dragon when he fought for, I think it was a Chinese Muay Thai or kickboxing promotion in China or something like that. And just him, going off about the whole dog stuff. You guys can look that up. It's kind of some sick stuff, but, also apparently Israel had a dog that died and Sean mentioning that, just stuff about Israel, doing inappropriate things with dogs or, his only friends are dogs and, just making all these comments about it. And then after the fight, Israel said, don't make fun of my family. And Sean was like, what do you mean? I never said anything about your family. And he points to his neck, because he has a tattoo of his dog on his neck. I think it was a Rottweiler. And it's like the fact that he was so hurt by that he literally told Sean Strickland, don't make fun of my family. It points to his neck, like his dog was a part of his family and was like that upset by it that he actually mentioned it to him after the fight. And, even in the post-fight press conference, he didn't really say anything. He's like, I'm going to have my coach step in and cover for me. And the coach Eugene Behrman just seemed confused and baffled the whole time of what just happened. You could tell the entire camp clearly significantly and severely underestimated Sean Strickland. You could tell they really didn't think Sean was going to win or Sean really had anything for Israel Adesanya. The whole camp just seemed... I mean, before the fight, they were interviewing Dan Hooker and all these other fighters on his team on City Kickboxing, and they all seemed like Sean Strickland just had no chance. Like Israel was just going to go in there and he was going to walk all over Sean and destroy him. And Sean Sean was almost a thing of the past. It's going to be a first round knockout, and that's going to be it. Israel's going to be on to the next one, on to greatness. And boy, were they wrong because maybe I'm getting confused on the names. Because Sean Strickland went in there and put on a clinic against Israel Adesanya, winning, if not all 5 rounds, at least 4, winning an incredibly dominant unanimous decision, and just completely humiliating and embarrassing Israel Adesanya, dropping him, just completely owning him and damaging him throughout the whole fight, frustrating him, keeping him moving backwards, shutting down all of his offense. I mean, that fight was genuinely embarrassing for Israel Adesanya. And the most embarrassing thing is that no one thought, redneck Sean Strickland was going to be able to do that. And he completely destroyed him. And I can tell that destroyed Izzy mentally, and especially with all the other trash talk and things he was saying about his dog. You combine all that together, the amalgamation of that, or the culmination of that really led to Israel breaking mentally. And I'm sure his team, thinking he was just going to walk through him and probably gassing him up the entire time during camp, probably didn't help that either. And it's interesting because Jake Paul even mentioned on a podcast that he did recently with the Nelk Boys that he empathizes with Izzy and he thinks he knows what happened, which is that, when you're a champion for that long, I mean, Jake Paul acting like he knows what actual high level champions are going through is pretty laughable in itself, because he's the furthest thing from that. And he's fought a bunch of losers for the most part, or a bunch of guys who just have no idea how to box, like Ben Askren and Gibb and who else? Nate Robinson. Jake acting like he's some big time champion is funny in itself. But I think Jake can definitely relate because Jake is very famous. He's been famous since he was a teenager or very, very early 20s. I think teenager, though. Actually, yeah, he has been famous since he was a teenager, making millions of dollars as a teenager in his early 20s. I think Jake definitely can relate because when you're winning in many different ways in life, you just basically have a bunch of yes men around you. And that's basically what Jake was saying, is that, you have all these offers coming towards you. You have movie roles. You have different businesses. Everyone wants to tell you what their business idea is. Everyone wants to give you props. Everyone wants to hang out with you. That's what Jake was saying. That's what he went through. And he thinks that's what happened with Izzy, is that when you're on top for that long, you just have all these opportunities. It's so difficult not to get distracted. And eventually that comes with the yes men too. And the fact that Israel Adesanya's team was so just acting like Izzy was just going to run through Strickland, probably, your teammates and your friends can oftentimes turn into yes men. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. And that's what a lot of people don't talk about. And I think that's probably a pretty accurate, synopsis or prediction of what's been going on with Israel Adesanya. And just the way too he's been acting in some of these, like when Drickus knocked out Robert Whittaker, he went in there and just started calling Drickus the N-word and was like half drunk and slurring his words and was like, he just kept calling Drickus the N-word and saying, "I'll be your dad." He was just super like all over the place and looked very unprofessional. Just other things he says in interviews sometimes and the ways he acts, it's very arrogant and just, you could kind of say, disrespectful. It's the fight game. People get disrespectful, but there's just certain things in his character that do come out from time to time. What he did to Paulo Costa after the fight, simulating like he was, like he was doing him from behind. Just different things that like you could tell he takes his stuff really personally. And you can tell this, things get to him. And I'm sure the fact that Sean Strickland said all the things he did and got to Israel. Israel's also very quiet during the press conference, didn't have a lot to say, and Sean was kind of destroying Izzy in the press conference. The fact that all that happened and then Izzy didn't beat him, because when a guy's talking all that trash to you and you destroy him and you knock him out, it gives you like closure. Like, yeah, you said all that stuff, it hurt, but like I destroyed you in the end, so I got my vengeance. When he destroys you in the press conference, says all these mean things to you that get to you, and you don't beat him, you don't even win a decision, and that guy destroys you and drops you in the fight, that messes with you. And that's going to mess with Israel Adesanya, especially someone who already takes things personally. So I think Izzy's mentally broken. I'm sure he's dealing with some injuries, but I think he's mentally broken. So it'll be interesting to see if he comes back. It'll be interesting to see if, I think there's probably a couple guys now in the division that could probably handle him. And, he's going to have either a real tough time against or could just flat out beat him, say they fought 10. I think if Strickland and him fought 10 times, I think Strickland would probably win at least 7. I think some guys have the recipe now and they're figuring out how to adjust to Israel. And I think there's some guys who could definitely beat him now. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. And best of luck to Izzy. Best of luck to Sean Strickland. The future is going to be interesting. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you agree? Do you think that what I'm saying is correct about Izzy? Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think Izzy will come back and be a champion again? Or do you think his time is kind of past? So let me know in the comments below. This is The Art of Violence. And until next time.
He looks at me, he's like, "I would never make fun of your family." I'm like, dude, like Izzy,
it's
like
a dog.
Like Izzy, I don't know your family, bro. I don't know if you have siblings. I don't even know about you. This is after the fight. He starts pointing at his neck. He's like, "My dog, man, my dog."
You can't come at me like, "Don't make fun of my family. Don't make fun of my family." It means like, it was my dog. You
Bro,
can't
I will
same.
a man for my dog.
Yeah, but you can't. If I'm like, "Sean, you made fun of my family."
So bottom line, Izzy, dude, I think we gotta need some help, man. Izzy, it's starting not to be funny anymore. Because as I'm starting to understand Izzy and his love of his dog, peanut butter and all, I'm starting to realize that like he could have a form of like mental retardation. Like there's something wrong with this guy, So now it's just like I kind of feel bad. Like I'm picking on the kid at school that eats his boogers. It's not funny anymore. I mean, it's still a little funny, but.